Okay, I promised I would share an update with you on how the journaling system was going. So for those who are seeing this video first, I am trying to follow the bullet journal method system with my fancy new journal that I got previously. So there are 2 other videos in this series and I'll link them in the description if you want to see those. Let me show you how this is going so far. I'm enjoying it, but I've made some mistakes so far, and so I'll show you those now. Okay, so this is my index page. You saw me set this up initially in the second video in this series, and I've added a few things since then. So you'll notice this book notes line. I've been really enjoying that, and I'll show you what it looks like. And then I also added a page for upcoming robotics conferences this year, where I'm trying to manage both the submission deadline and the actual conference dates on that one page. The funny thing is this post-it note I added that has a legend for the bullets that I'm using. So this should actually be its own key in the journal, and I went ahead and did that eventually when I realized it was kind of silly to be putting sticky notes in the journal. I don't think that's a recommended strategy by anybody. So I just migrated that onto its own page at the beginning of the journal, and now I have this key in here to remind me what these different symbols mean if I forget. And I have removed the sticky note now. Okay, so this is my future log. So normally this would start in February, but as I mentioned before, I started this journal in February. So March is actually the first month that is in my future log. The next page, pages 7 and 8, have the remaining months of the year. And this is working out pretty well. I did forget to use the bullets for things in the future log. So I'll show you a couple examples of that. So right here you can see I went back and added these in after the fact. I had just been writing things down and I kind of forgot that there is a symbol to all of the entries that you make, even in the future log or the monthly log, in addition to making them in the daily log. So I had kind of forgotten about that and I started just writing things down. And that exposed some bad habits from the past where I just didn't really have any system to these notes, so they were just kind of all thrown in on the same pages, and there was no designation between what is a task that needs to get done, what's an event, what's like an upcoming birthday or anything like that. There was no way to distinguish any of those things, and that's what this system is supposed to help with. So here's another one where I initially forgot that I just wanted to take a note that it was my mom's birthday coming up in August. And instead I drew a random arrow, and then I was like, oh wait, I actually want to follow the system really closely so that I can give it an honest review. So I went back and added the little dash to indicate that it's a note. But these are just a couple examples of trying to get into the habit of using the symbols for their intended purpose rather than just taking notes kind of willy-nilly, which is what I've always done in the past. Okay, this is my first month of the journal, so this is February. You saw me set this up very blankly in the last video, or very minimalistically, I should say. I added a few things since then. I saw this idea of the habit tracker, so I added that in. You can see the YRW, that for me is yoga, running, strength. I train a lot, and it's nice for me to see where my time is being allocated using the habit tracker. But the problem for me is that I drew this really far out into the page, so it's actually taking away space from events for the different days of the month. So next month when I put March in here, I'm gonna move that habit tracker over to the right a little bit more so that it's not taking up so much space on the page. So the left-hand side of the month is all of the days in the month, including what day of the week it is. And then the right-hand side is just tasks. So when I do the daily log and I'm migrating something from the daily log to the monthly log because I didn't get it done that day, this is where a lot of that stuff has been going. And I'm finding that to be a really good strategy for handling that feeling of having a to-do list that never ends. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to keep migrating thing day after day after day and not doing it. Let me put it in the monthly log and just know that I need to do it. Like getting all my tax documents ready, I just know I need to do that this month. That's been working really well. Okay, so here on the left is an example of the daily log. So this was February 3rd, which was a Monday, and then February 4th, which was a Tuesday. So This daily log system is working really well for me. I'm liking it a lot. I've been sticking to the journaling notation pretty well through the daily log. So that's actually been really helpful, just to see the events, the tasks that I need to get done, and then just random notes that I've taken. So what I've noticed is that if there are notes that are important enough that they come up repeatedly or I want to revisit them, I move them out of the daily log, because part of this system is not to index the daily log. So if it's something really important to you and you want to reference it again, find a different collection for it. That's the term that's used in the book and what I'll continue to use. Find a different collection for it and then index that collection. So that's what I did with the robotics conferences that I had. I actually made a separate page for those because they kept coming up again and again. And I was like, okay, it would be good to have this in its own space in my journal. So that's what I did. The book notes that I talked about earlier is also really helpful. So just a page number for where I found a certain concept or a quote or something I want to revisit, I'll mark that down, and then just a quick note about it, and then I put that into the index in my journal so that I can find it again. This is just a quick example. I've actually added more since then, and I'm still continuing to enjoy this, so I'm going to keep going with it and give you an update down the line.